Great, good morning. Welcome back. Is everyone surviving? Everyone looks tired, right? I'm exhausted. This has been like the longest week. I always think it's so hard to come back from summer and then like go through a normal week. Like I've been sleeping well at night, other than my children. Like they wake me up all night, but otherwise sleeping well. So I hope you're hanging in there. We're almost to the end of the week. It's Thursday, so it's close. There's a break coming, which is nice. But I'm glad you're all back. We will get going on our first chapter today, which I think is kind of fun, but we'll do a few things before that. I want to see if there are any questions. We'll do kind of a quick recap of a few things, and I'll talk a little bit about note taking, and then we'll jump into chapter 1. But I wanted to see really quickly, are there any questions at all from last time about the syllabus? Anybody have any like lingering questions or anything from last time? Yeah. Yeah, that's okay. Hopefully, you can work on that over the weekend, or I'm sure some of you have ordered it. Maybe you're waiting for it. The sooner the better, but yeah, that's still okay. We're going to start chapter 1, but we won't get very far into it today, so it's totally fine. Any other questions? Anything else for now? So I always do this on the second day, and I think it's kind of a fun way just to quickly review some of the things that we talked about. But we're going to do a little Kahoot review of a few things from last class. So if you downloaded the app, you can open the Kahoot app. If you didn't, you can go to kahoot.it, and then you're going to either scan the little code over here, or you can put in the number. I'm going to write it up on the board in case you get booted out. Oh, we're missing the music. That's the best part. Hold on. Maybe there's somewhere. Music. Oh, I sort of hear it in the background. So I'll give you a few minutes to get logged in. You can put whatever nickname you want. Feels like the internet is slightly better in this room than it used to be. Like everyone's in, so it's good. I'll take it. I'll give you just another minute or so, and then we'll start. Anybody still trying to log on? It looks like, oh, we lost one, right? If you get booted out at any point, again, here's the pin. But I have, I think, 10 or 11 questions that I'm going to ask you, and they are all related to things we talked about last time. So either the syllabus or things that I shared with you. And the way Kahoot works, if you've never used it before, is you are awarded points based off of accuracy and speed. Right, so you're competing against each other, competing for candy. I brought some candy again, and I found a new candy since like Monday. That doesn't happen very often. I'm very schooled on candy, but I've never had these before, and they're so good. Caramel M&Ms. It's like I discovered like a new love in life right this week, so I'm gonna keep that one. But we're gonna do this speed and accuracy. I got distracted by candy. So if you get it correct, you will be awarded points. There'll be a winner at the end of every question, and then there'll be 3 winners at the end. So if at any point you win a question or you're on the podium at the end, I have candy for you before you leave today. But again, just a quick review. So here we go. We will get started. You're going to pick from the options that are on your phone. So here we go. Little quick review. Starting easy here. Question number 1. What is the name of this class? Excellent. All of you got it correct. I'm very proud, right? Abnormal psychology, always know what class you're in, always know who your teacher is, just basic information to always have. As an academic counselor, I see that so often when I was counseling. People would never remember the names of their classes. Don't ever let that be you. Always know where you are, right? Okay, winner, where's Andres? There you are, right in the front. Okay, so we have a leader. Take him down, right? 1 point, like it's close. Jen, where's Jen? We're nipping at him, we're right there. Okay, next question. What is the best way to get a hold of me? Answer quickly. I love it. Email, right? Perfect. Most of you said email. I check my email all the time. I will get back to you relatively quickly. Not so great with my phone, but I will return your phone call eventually. And please come find me in my office. But email, definitely email. Let's see. Oh, you got him, right? Okay, new leader. It's close. Next question. I have how many kids in total? I didn't put 3 though. I thought 3 would really like. I think I should have put like 75 down here somewhere. Ooh, most of you got it right. 8. My daughters, I practiced this Kahoot with them, and they said it was boring, which is really mean. Like 8-year-olds are brutal. They're like, this is really boring, and technically I was wrong. They're like, you didn't include the rats. So technically I have 11, but I didn't consider the rats my children. But they were like, you're wrong, it's 11. Kids were happy to correct me. But 8, right? So we have a new leader, Francis. Where's Francis? All right, nice job. Okay, here we go again. What is the name of our required textbook? Nice that most of you got it. I have to tell you as a side note, if I ever wrote a textbook for this class, I would totally call it Abnormality in You. Right? I hope that'd be hilarious. But good job, Fundamentals of Abnormal Psych. How many of you either ordered it or got it since I saw you last? That's amazing. A lot of you. So did you buy the 5th edition, the 6th edition? Anyone buy the older one? Did anyone get the older one online? I had somebody yesterday who said they got it for $3 online, the 5th edition used. She's like, it's a little battered, but it was only $3. So that's pretty amazing. So definitely do some research. I'm glad a lot of you have ordered it. Okay, let's see where we're at. Ryan, where's Ryan? Nice job. You're in the lead. Okay. True or false? You should come to class even if you weren't feeling well. Very nice. False, right? If you're not feeling well, don't come. I am recording all of the lectures. I already hit it. Sometimes I forget to hit record, but I'm recording them. They'll be posted on Canvas. So if you ever miss, really good idea to watch those and you won't be behind. You won't miss out on anything. So nicely done. Let's see. Still in the lead. I like it. Okay. Next one. Our exams will be taken. Perfect on Canvas, right? So not in person, we'll be taking them online. And I did spend a lot of time, as I said, debating this, but I think it will be really nice for all of you. It'll reduce your anxiety. You'll be able to use your notes, your book, everything. And we won't meet on those days. So remember on exam days, and I'll remind you when we get closer, we won't actually meet in person. You'll be able to take the exam online, either during that time or throughout the span of the day. You'll have the whole day to complete it. Okay, let's see. Still in the lead. The competitive part of me is like, come on, somebody get him, catch him. I like it though. I like being in the lead. Okay, number 7. If you miss an exam, which of the following is true about making it up? Perfect. Again, doing great. You cannot make it up unless you reached out to me ahead of time, right? So you'll have the entire span of the day to take an exam. If you know that that day is going to be a problem or something comes up, you can email me at 11:58 p.m. and I will still give you an extension. But if you email me at 12:01 a.m. the next morning, it will be too late. So I just really important if something comes up that you're communicating with me. And again, make sure you do it before the deadlines. Okay, let's see. Oh, new leader. Back to Francis. Okay. Number Great. Attendance and participation are graded by. Perfect. Ooh, a little more split, but 10 random 10-point activities. So that index card that you'll turn into me today is the first one. These will be videos that we watch, activities that we'll do. They'll be random throughout the semester. Again, that index card today is the first 10 points of those. Ryan, we're going back and forth. I like it. Okay. Number 9, couple more. If you miss a participation homework assignment, it can be submitted. Ooh, close. We had a little bit of confusion here, so that's why we review, right? By email before the end of the class session in which it was due. So let's say I gave you a homework assignment today that was due on Tuesday, but you can't make it Tuesday because you're sick or you're doing something else, whatever that might be. You can email it to me or submit it through Canvas before the end of that class on Tuesday and still get full credit. Okay, so again, if you miss something, really important to be, on it with submitting it online or reaching out to me. That way you don't lose those points. Okay. Still right. Right. Oh, look at the gap though. Sizable gap. Okay. 2 more. In this class, you will write how many papers divided into how many parts. Perfect. 1 paper, 3 parts, right? And we'll talk about the first part actually soon. So you could start thinking about if there's a TV or movie character that you might want to spend some time thinking about. Start kind of thinking about that in the back of your mind. We'll talk about that in the next week or so. But 1 paper, we'll divide it into 3 parts to build you up to it. And that's what you will do for the paper. All right. Last one, most important of all questions. Who's my favorite football player? The only one you know? Perfect. Nobody said Cody. I put in a baseball player just to see how sports savvy you were, right? In my other class, like 3 people picked Cody. I'm like, no, wrong sport. That's okay. Brady, you all, 2 of you said Cooper Cup. I do love Cooper Cup. He's on my car and my water bottle, but Brady, right? Totally not important, but I had to throw it in there. And let's see where we're at. Here's our podium. So in 3rd place, Matt. Where's Matt? Nice job, Matt. 2nd place, Jen. Where's Jen? Jen. And 1st place, I don't know who it should be, Ryan. Woohoo! Great. We can enjoy the confetti and the music. We'll do one more Kahoot later today, just as a kind of a poll. So you could close that for now, but we'll come back to it. Just move that out. But if you were one of the winners of any of the questions, or you're one of these 3 folks, make sure you see me at the end to grab some candy. Close this out here so it doesn't keep making sounds on me. I hate that the bar is always right in my way. There we go. All right. So any last other questions? Those are the big things I wanted to review, but anything else you're confused about or questions on the syllabus before we move on from it? Okay. The last thing I want to mention before we get going here is I recommended last time that you take notes. And I would really just like to say just a few things about that. In general, the more ways that you put information into your mind, the more likely you are to remember it. Right. So if you're looking at the slide, listening to my voice and writing it down, that's 3 different ways of encoding that information that's going to help you to remember it better. Now, you probably know what works for you and what doesn't in terms of notes and studying and so on. But what I'd like to recommend is you don't need to write down necessarily what's in the slides. Remember that the slides are on Canvas, so you can download them, you can print them, you can access them later. The stuff that you want to write down is anything else. So if I write stuff on the board, or if there are examples, or if I say, hey, this would be a great question on the exam, you might like circle it or put a star next to it. What a lot of people will do, and I've seen this quite a bit, it's totally up to you, but sometimes people like to print the slides in like the 3-slide format like this, so they can make notes next to it. They can circle things and write on them. Again, it's totally optional, it's up to you, but I would recommend taking notes, and don't feel pressured to write down what's in the slides. And if it goes a little fast, remember that the slides are online and the lecture has been recorded, right? So you can always go back and access it later. So we have a lot of opportunities to go back to the slides and the materials even after we're done today. The other thing that I would like to say is if you miss a class, make sure you watch the recording, and you might want to reach out to a classmate to get notes from them or see if there was homework. You can always email me, but your classmates are going to be your best resource always, right? Just because it's a completely different perspective. And so what I'd like you to do, I'd like you to take just a couple of minutes and find a few people around you, because we're already creatures of habit. You're already sitting in the spots that you probably will all semester. So what I want you to do is find a few people, exchange an email or a phone number or like a social media name, whatever it is you're comfortable exchanging. That way, if you do miss, you can reach out to that person or one of those people and get notes from them or get if there was homework or whatnot. So find a few people around you, exchange that information, and then we'll go from there. I don't. Now you could kind of just fold it under if you want. I have a stapler too, if you want to use that, but that might help with attaching. Yeah. All right, did everybody get a couple of numbers or emails? Or I saw a lot of you exchange them, which is great. You can add to this later, but at least you have somebody, right? If you notice you're sitting next to someone different, you want to add another number later, of course, go for it. But if you miss a class, email me, but you can always check with a classmate. I want to give you this number as well. We've been encouraged to make sure that you all have it. You can put it in your phone, or if you already have it, or just want to kind of write it down. That's the campus police or campus security number. I always think it's really sad that we have to talk about our safety and security, but it's important that you have that number. If there's ever anything that goes wrong on campus, or you notice something suspicious or something off, they actually want us to call 911 now. In the past, it was campus security, but now you have that number. If it's something smaller, if it's a bigger, like more of an emergency, of course, call 911. If something happens to me, somebody call 911 for me, right? Like if I pass out on the floor or something. Hopefully that never happens, right? But just in case, right, somebody do that, don't just leave, right? Right? You all just walk out. But we have this, if you need it. Hopefully you never have to worry about anything happening. If something ever does happen, we will get through it together. But hopefully we are all safe and sound and fine, but I want to make sure you have that number just in case, okay? So I think that's everything, kind of all the side stuff that I wanted to go over. Anything, other comments, questions, anything else before we start on chapter 1? So exciting. It's like the first slide of the semester, right? The last one is sad, but the first one is exciting. So we get to talk in this chapter a little bit about what is abnormality. And that's what we're going to spend a lot of time on today. How do we decide what's normal versus abnormal? Because it's actually a very difficult question to answer. We'll look a little bit about how abnormality was treated in the past. What are some of the current trends and jobs in the field? And that'll be the focus of this chapter. So we'll set the stage for a couple of weeks with how we viewed abnormality, what is abnormal. Then we'll talk about models of assessment, how we diagnose people. And then after that, the whole rest of the semester are the disorders. So a couple of weeks of setting the stage. And this class is called Abnormal Psychology, right? That is the title of our course. The scientific study of abnormal behavior in an effort to describe, predict, explain, change abnormal patterns of functioning. Now, they say the word abnormal in here a lot, right? And we're going to talk about that a lot today again. What is normal versus what is abnormal? How do we know if somebody has a disorder or they're just a little odd or different or eccentric, right? How do we define normal? And that's a really difficult thing to answer because what's normal to me might not be normal to you. What's normal today might not have been normal 2 years ago or 2 years from now. Or what's normal here in California might not be in another part of the world, right? Normality is something that's very subjective. It changes all the time. And sometimes it's easier to see abnormal than it is to kind of conceptualize it. So we'll talk about some guidelines that we have to kind of indicate that maybe someone is out of the norm or potentially struggling with a mental illness. But the takeaway that I hope you get at the end of today is that it's not as black and white as I think we tend to think it is. Right? We tend to be like, oh, mental illness or like someone having a disorder is obvious and we see it. And sometimes it can be, and other times it can be really, really subtle. It's not as black and white as we make it out to be. So we'll talk about, what are we call them the D's of abnormality in just a moment. But sometimes I think it's easier to see what we as a society think of mental illness by watching someone pretend to have one. Right, so I have a video clip of somebody pretending to be mentally ill. And I think that gives us a good metric as to what are some of the mentalities and attitudes we have about mental illness. So let me pause this here since I can't post illness like as a culture by watching someone pretend to have one. What are some of the things that he does to make it look like he's mentally ill? What are some of the things that he does? Yeah.
Sudden outbursts.
Yeah, right. Random sudden outbursts. Perfect. What else does he do that to make himself look crazy or mentally ill? Yeah.
Like hurting himself, things.
Yeah, right. So smacking his head down right like that. Loud thump that he makes there. What else? There's a bunch of other things that he does. Anyone else? Yeah.
Being somewhere else, like in a football game while everyone else is.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not present, right? Like he's obsessed with the football. Which who could blame him really, right? But he's obsessed with football and he's not present in the current moment. Anything else that you notice? I can think of at least two more things that he does. Yeah. Yeah, he's dressed really abnormally, right? Like that's not typical. His speech is really like random. He does a lot of like gibberish. All of those things he's trying to portray mental illness, right? And I think, again, that's a good place to start as in terms of, how do we view it as a culture? So what we'll talk about from here, there's kind of a guideline that we sometimes use called the 5 Ds of abnormality. Now, the textbook talks about 4, but I added a 5th one, right? So we'll say the 5 Ds of abnormality. And these aren't diagnostic, like you're not going to find them in the DSM. But they're more of like a guideline. If somebody has these Ds, then we might wonder if something else is going on. The first D is deviance. When people have a mental illness, it's typically related to deviance. right? They're differing markedly from our ideas about proper functioning. People are breaking norms. They stand out. Their behavior is different than what you would expect or kind of what is typical. And this is tricky because how do we define typical or normal, right? But we talk a lot about norms, and our culture has a norm for everything, like either a stated or unstated rule for proper conduct. Really incredibly simple example. I just double checked, but I already knew the answer. Every single one of you has clothing on. You knew that if you came to school without clothes today, you would be in trouble, right? It wouldn't go well for you. Clothing, you had to wear clothes. Every single one of you is sitting in your chair, facing forward right. Can you imagine how distracting it would be if somebody just spent the whole class standing up, staring at the back wall? Like, I wouldn't be able to move forward. If one of you just stood there and stared at the wall, like, I'd be so distracted. It would be deviant. It'd be different. It'd be abnormal, right? And it would cause attention to be drawn to you. There's a norm literally for everything. My favorite is the norm in an elevator, right? Like, what are you supposed to do when you're in an elevator? Don't talk, right? You push the button, you stare forward, you don't talk. I don't know why. I don't know if it's the psychologist in me, but when I get in an elevator, I push the button and then I turn around and stare at the people behind me. And it makes them so uncomfortable. And I don't know why, but I find it hilarious in my mind. And so I just keep doing it. My kids have started doing it too. And it's the funniest thing because we'll push the button and then we'll all turn around. And I've had other people in the elevator turn around too. Like, what are we missing what do they know that we don't? And they'll follow our norm, which I think is hilarious. But we have norms and just these rules. And they're different for every culture, right? Different cultures have different ideas of normality, different places, different times. Every group has its idea of what is normal. Your textbook uses the example of like the Michigan ice jumpers or icebreakers, right? That there's this group of people who every winter go and jump into a freezing cold lake. And to them, that's normal. It's like a fun, normal, like group activity. To most people, we would consider that deviant or abnormal, right? So you have to consider norms and culture. But deviance is the first D. If people are very different from the norm, different from what you would expect, whether that's behavior or dress or whatnot, it calls attention, right? And we might start to wonder about mental illness or something else going on. The other Ds, the second one is distress. Disorders cause distress. It's actually one of the criteria for every single disorder. It causes significant distress or impairment in your life. And so when people have a disorder, it makes them uncomfortable, causes discomfort or distress. And it might not be to that individual. It could also be to others in their life, but they cause stress and difficulty. Disorders also cause dysfunction. That's the third B. They interfere with your ability to function on a daily basis. Right? You are so hungover because you had so much to drink. You can't make it to your job in the morning, right? So it interferes with your ability to be successful at work. You have so much anxiety that it's hard for you to show up to class, so you miss an assignment and it affects your grade, right? It interferes with your daily functioning in some way. Disorders also often have an element of danger. Not always. You don't have to always have these 5 Ds. They're, again, just kind of a guideline. But a lot of disorders have an element of danger to either yourself or other people. There are disorders where people are more likely to self-harm or be suicidal. And there are disorders where people might be aggressive or dangerous or hostile toward other people. So there's often an element of danger that comes with disorders as well. And I added this 5th one. This one isn't covered in the book, but I added it. And that's duration. How long does the behavior last or the emotions last? Is it longer than is typical? And again, typical is subjective, but every single disorder has criteria for duration, right? You have to have symptoms of depression for at least 2 weeks, or symptoms of mania for at least 5 days, right? Symptoms of addiction for at least a year. So duration, how long does it last, is a really important factor to also take into account. So if somebody is showing these Ds, we might then start to look at, like, what are their symptoms? What's going on with them? Does it meet a certain disorder that we can then diagnose them with? So these are a really kind of good rough guideline to start with. And that I want to look at a few examples of this and just kind of see what you think. I don't know if any of you have heard of either of these two guys or seen either of these two guys before, Lizard Man and Stalking Cat. Very kind of abnormal in a sense, atypical fellows here. But Stalking Cat, I have a little clip of him that I want to play for you. And that's the guy on the bottom. That's his name for himself, Stalking Cat. And as I play this clip, I want you to be thinking in your mind, do you think he has a disorder or doesn't have a disorder? And I'm going to make you choose one, which is always hard. I'm a Gemini. I don't like to be forced into like a choice, right? I'm always torn between two things. But try and think, do you think he has a disorder or not, and why? So let me play a little clip of him talking about some of the things that a disorder. Right? And so what I want you to do, I want you to get into groups of like 3 or 4 people, whatever's convenient and easy around you. And I want you to just take a minute or two and talk about it. Do you think he has a disorder or not? And while you're talking about it, I'm going to bring up another Kahoot so that we can take a poll on him and a few other people that we'll talk about. So just at some point, once I get that up on the board, join while you're talking. So I'll give you just a couple of minutes, like 3 or 4 people, whatever's easy. Does he have a disorder? Why or why not? So again, as you're talking, make sure you join. So we will vote on him in a moment when everyone is in here. We will vote on him and then we'll talk a little bit about it. You don't have to agree with your group. You can vote however you would like. So make sure you join that Kahoot, then we could talk about it.
That's cool.
All right, everybody logged in, ready to vote? Give me just another minute and then we'll vote. When it comes up, all you're gonna do is decide if you have a disorder or not have a disorder. And then we're gonna vote on 4 more people, so don't close the Kahoot. When you're done, you can just leave it open in the background. But we'll just see where we're at, has a disorder or not, and then we can talk about it. Is anyone still trying to get in? Give me just a second. And I wrote the code up here too if you get kicked out. All right, so let's vote on him. So again, has a disorder or doesn't have a disorder? 2 choices. Have to pick one. The suspense. Well, interesting. Fairly split. Okay, so 12 of you said you think he has a disorder, and 9 of you that he doesn't, right? So that's actually really split. So what do you think? Why do you think he has a disorder or doesn't? And I'll tell you, there isn't necessarily a right or wrong answer here, right? I don't have the answer. It's just interesting to debate. But why did you vote the way you did? Any thoughts? Yeah.
I said that I think that's psychological development.
Sure.
Because like the surgeries and stuff they do, body might like for the moment, but as the ages, it might cause physical problems that might not be aware of in time.
Okay.
Might not consider like the long-term consequences with that moment.
Okay. Great point. Yeah.
I was gonna say, yeah, so that's switched it.
Okay.
Because, like, I was thinking like trans people, and like, it's like, they would also do like similar things like surgery.
Sure.
That's like better fit interested.
Okay.
Psychological disorders.
Yeah. That's a good parallel, right? And that often comes up of people who are changing their body in some way to better match the way that they feel they should be, right? Or is tattooing really that abnormal, or piercings that abnormal, even though it kind of goes a little bit beyond maybe what is typical? Was there a hand over here? Yeah.
Kind of branching off what you said, like, I mean, he's not really, I don't think he has distress, and he seems okay with what he's doing. He's like aware, and it's part of his culture. And
Okay.
his culture. So I would say he doesn't.
Okay. And I love that you thought about culture, right? He talks about his culture as being an element of it, right? I love that. Yeah. Did you have a thought?
I think it's based on like his the spiritual background
Yeah.
and also his I guess devotion to body art,
Mhm.
well, mixing.
Yeah.
So he's been mixing twins his culture as well as like his love for body art as well. I mean it's an extreme case.
Yeah.
It's a very extreme case. It looks abnormal to all of us, but it's not necessarily destructive.
Okay.
And I don't think it's a fair cut case of psychological disorder.
Great. Oh, so you voted no, right? Okay, great. There's a hand over here. Yeah.
This is.
Yes, please.
He had no stress, but he's trying to change his whole image and who he is into something else.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like saying he didn't like what was there before, so
Sure.
he wants to be something else. So whatever was there before, he's running away from.
Mm-hmm.
And then also duration, that's forever
Right.
on his body. So
Yes. Yeah.
It's a long time being a tiger.
And right. And I love that you brought that up, right? Like that maybe there's something underlying because he is making a lot of changes, right? And so it's hard to know what's motivating it. Is it that he wants to be more complete and this is making him happier? Is there like an underlying thing? Like, is it causing him distress? Any other thoughts? Anybody else have another thought or perspective at all? Yeah.
I think as far as the stress goes, I mean, Michael talked about this and I'm not entirely sure about it either, but like, as far as the money he's spending on stress surgeries and what he looks, I mean, granted, he is happy with it, so I mean, I guess that works out, but I think like, if he, let's say he's, you know, I don't know about his financial situation, maybe could be possibly spending money that he should be spending on like his own needs on the surgeries. And then as far as employment, like I don't know what that man does for work. And like personally, I mean, I would care if he looked like that, want to be a job. But a lot of people who are judgmental, that might affect his employment, you know,
Yeah.
stuff like socialization, you know, stuff like that.
No, that's a great point, right? That it might interfere with his daily life.
I'm not sure, you know, he didn't mention it, but that's just, you know, like,
Yeah.
I think, like, perspective.
He just has to leave his camera off on Zoom. We're fine, right? Right. Yeah, I mean, even like minor tattoos and piercings can be problems for some places, right? Let alone, you know, the massive procedures that he's had done. Would it change your opinion at all? So we're kind of split. Would it change your mind at all on the disorder or no disorder if I told you that he committed suicide? Maybe, right? I mean, maybe or maybe not, but he committed suicide several years ago. Right, and we have no idea why, he didn't say why, but it makes me wonder if there was something underlying, like kind of like we were talking about a little bit, maybe something underlying that was motivating him. So there is a disorder called body dysmorphic disorder, we'll talk about it later in the semester, very typical of people with that disorder to have multiple surgeries and procedures to change the way they look. It could have been a cultural belief, right, that made him happier and fulfilled, but we don't know the answer, right, and again, you were pretty split. But for me, the fact that he took his own life kind of changes it a little bit for me. Like it makes me wonder, it makes me kind of push a little bit over here, whereas I might have been more on the other side before learning that piece of information. And I didn't know that actually until recently. When I was looking him up, I was curious like what he was doing now. Yeah, he took his own life several years ago. Right. So just an interesting, sad piece of information. I have 4 other individuals that we're going to look at. Right. And so what I want you to do, send somebody up from your group to grab 1 or 2 of these. I have extra, so if you each want your own, I should have enough. But what I want you to do is you're going to read through these 4 scenarios, 4 different people. And as a group, decide, do you think they have a disorder or don't have a disorder? And be thinking about why. We'll vote on each one of them and talk about each one of them. And again, I have some extras, so you're welcome to take more than one. But come grab one of these, leave the Kahoot open because we're going to vote on these folks. But send someone up to grab 1 or 2 of them, get started, and then we'll vote and talk about it. You're right, I don't mind at all. And again, if you want more than 1 copy, help yourself there. You know that. And you're welcome to write on it. You're not permitted. You're welcome to write on it. Now, it's nice to be able to read it. We're going to decide and talk about it in the group, and then when we're all done in a few minutes, we'll go through together.
This generation. Right. So, there's somebody in your life, like you would be able to follow. Not that we want to years, right? You don't have to have all 5. They're kind of easy to pick up. But these
Sometimes there's some.
It's not, I would say there's only 1 on there that doesn't have a clear answer. So after debate.
That's right.
So take a couple more minutes and then we'll vote and talk about each one together.
And the third one.
I mean, I don't trust the fourth one first, right? See, I think we need it. That's what I'm saying.
All right, does anybody need more time? Most of you, okay, we'll take like another minute or so and then we can vote on them. All right, so start wrapping up your thoughts, and if you've got logged out for any reason, make sure you log back in. But what we'll do with each one of these folks, so we'll vote on Andrew, and then we'll talk about him a little bit. And I just want to put out there that other than one of these, I would say they're all pretty up for debate. I think there's one to me that like seems a little bit clearer than the rest, but otherwise, I think we could make a strong case in either direction. So let's go ahead and vote on Andrew. And again, you don't have to agree with your group. You can vote however you would like. You'll vote has a disorder or doesn't have a disorder, and then we can talk a little bit about it. So let's do Andrew first. Andrew has a disorder, doesn't have a disorder. All right, I would say pretty overwhelming there. 20-0, right? So this is the one that I would agree that is pretty clear that he has a disorder. I think after Andrew, it's much more up for debate. But why do we think Andrew has a disorder? What was your flag?
For me, like, I mean, with Saturn, that wasn't what told me. But him doing no remorse.
Yeah,
For what he was doing.
yeah, the no remorse, the no regret, like very big red flag, right? The fact that he does things like that, but not having regret about it. Yeah, is that a hint?
I was gonna say how like it seems like he has like a lot of built up anger.
Yeah.
and Probably like a big 17 weeks.
Okay, yeah. Definitely some anger issues, some lack of empathy and feeling bad about doing things. Yeah. Mhm.
Which I'm pretty sure is pretty, like, words and. People like that,
Yeah.
like they like move it in people and then
Mhm.
do whatever. It's, you know.
Yeah. Right, that very superficial, charismatic front to anyone sitting there going like sociopath, right, like psychopath, or thinking that in your mind, thinking Dexter in the back of your mind, right? Yeah,
Say the power, like it's hard for them to hold it down.
yeah.
Right? Yeah, and probably moves from town to town.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. So a lot of things interfering with his life. I think Andrew would fit pretty well with antisocial personality disorder, right, which is known as being a psychopath or a sociopath in terms of like common language. He has a big red flag, right? So I would completely agree. From here, I think it gets a little trickier and less clear. Let's see what you think about Barbara. Barbara's my favorite to talk about, right? Let's talk about Barbara next. So go ahead and vote on her. Has a disorder, doesn't have a disorder. I used to make people raise their hand, but nobody ever wanted to raise their hand for Barbara. No. All right, overwhelmingly in the opposite direction. So 18 of you said no, 2 of you said yes. What do you think? Why yes or no? What are your thoughts on Barbara? We'll go over here then here. Disorder?
Yeah.
Okay, so you said yes, she goes. Okay.
Saying that it's happening very.
Okay. Okay. Do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I was going to say that, since it's not consistent, like, for longer than a couple of weeks, and it's just like a one week period, it's not sure to be disorder.
Okay. So for you said no, right? Not a disorder. Yeah.
I'm seeing the paper and question version.
Mhm.
It's the same issue.
Okay.
Changes in the things.
Yeah.
Problem. So a couple of vaccines running that is like birth control.
Mhm.
A lot. They're talking like really mood swings and stuff. But usually like the rest of the episodes like happen like constant period.
Yeah.
What I've seen. My friend.
Okay.
So I don't think it's psychological. I think like come on naturally.
Okay. Great. Love it. Thank you. Yeah.
I was on the she doesn't have a psychological side, then when she said that, I thought about it, like the duration of it was weird.
Revo.
Yeah, the duration of it was weird because it started before and then like it proceeds after, which like if you consider like a week before and then here's like 5 to 7 days, then exactly that's like half a month. Like that's like a longer time than people would normally
Okay.
experience those symptoms. But other than that, like if it wasn't for the time period, I would say just it's just normal.
Right.
Yeah, it's just normal.
Like, I mean, like, not to be like interrupt.
Yeah.
But like hormone cycles and stuff, we literally as women are set to be like 2 weeks out of the month feeling like crap.
Yeah, no, I just first just when I heard it's like afterwards, that's like after your period
I
ends.
mean, but afterwards, I think that's more
Everyone's
about ovulation and getting your hormones in balance.
Well, that's just something I just like.
I love it. Great. I love it. I love that.
Yeah.
Debate. Fight it out. I love it. Great. Yeah. Yeah.
Put that she was in the new environment of law school. And,
Okay.
the doctor was in the
Yeah. Right. So some other things at play, the stress of law school. Right. I think it's kind of funny, just as a side note, my dad, when I was a child, my dad looked at my brother and he said, there's going to be a few days out of the month where your mom is a different person. And I remember as a kid being like, what do you mean by that? Like literally? Like, because we were little, I didn't understand. Like, she's going to be somebody else. And then like when those things would happen, you'd be like, see, and I'd be like, oh, okay, so not a different person, just a little like emotional, right? Very, very common for women to experience PMS, right? Like symptoms related to their hormones, right? I teach human sexuality as well. This is something we talk a lot about, right? A lot of women experience mood and behavioral changes as a result of hormonal fluctuations, whether it's weeks or days, like really depends on the person. Some people it can be before and after their cycle, others it doesn't happen at all. Some people are intensely emotional and other people have no reactions whatsoever. So it could just be normal PMS, normal reactions to stress. it could escalate to PMDD, which is a disorder where people have extreme responses to the hormonal changes that happen around the menstrual cycle. So interesting. I think it could be up for debate. I lean toward, personally, I would lean toward no, but it could easily escalate to something else, right? I want more information, right? Which we don't get, sadly. But just something interesting to think about. A lot of women have these reactions. Is it a disorder or is it more medical, hormonal? The answer isn't always obvious, right? And I think we continue on the not obvious with the next one. Let's go to Diane next and vote on her. Diane has a disorder, doesn't have a disorder. Okay, so 17 of you said no, 4 of you said yes. Anyone want to start us off? What do you think about Diane? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Until the end, where it seems clear to me that she's starting to develop depression.
Okay.
Just from the loss of her husband and their impact spiritually. It kind of seems like she's like developing, depression from the onset of just her divorce.
Okay.
And all the emotions just pressing off her, and she cracked from stress of like what's happening, trying to find work, not having the support system of her husband anymore.
Yeah.
It's kind of seeing that her depression is taking full control at this point.
So started out kind of typical normal, but
Yeah.
but escalated to more depression. Great. Yeah.
Definitely agreeing with that, but I voted yes because depression, it definitely has to be considered. as a
Sure.
Psychological disorder. It's not normal behavior, especially when it started 3 months ago. that
Mhm.
Her husband left and she's been continuing these abnormal behaviors for herself for 3 months.
Okay.
So,
All right. Great. Other thoughts? Yeah.
I would say if she didn't have these, she would be have a disorder. Because
Yeah,
these are
okay.
very. If anyone went through that, I feel like most people would. Like, what was the word we're using? Norms.
Yeah.
It's very extremely normal just to like go through that. So if you
Sure.
don't, that's when it becomes habit.
Yeah, and I think it's important to ask yourself with any of these people or anyone in general, what would you expect? Like, what would a normal reaction be, right? Like if you were with somebody, had kids with them, and then they cheated on you, left you, you had to move out, had to start a new life. Like, would it be normal to be depressed? Would it be normal to react that way, right? And if you didn't react that way, would that be even more abnormal? So I think those are questions to ask, right? Like, what would you expect as a typical response? But then does it go on longer than like is average or typical? Now, 3 months for some might be like way too long. And for others be like, well, that's not, I'm barely even touching the grief that I've reached, right? Really interesting. My partner's sister, so my sister-in-law, just this last weekend, like had this almost exact scenario happen to her, right? Which is really, really like sad, obviously. Like her husband of almost 20 years, they have 2 kids together, told her that he's been cheating on her for a year and wants a divorce, right? And she is just absolutely beside herself, as you would expect to be, right? So now 3 months from now, I don't know what that will look like for her. I'm slightly curious and I feel awful for her, but I think it's just something to keep in mind with anything is like, what would a typical reaction be? If you have something traumatic happen to you, it's normal to react to it. But how long do we give you before we view it as abnormal? And there's not like a hard rule to that, which makes it tricky. Yeah.
You know, like I agree with that, because like if someone like died that you know, someone like how would you expect?
Yeah. Yeah. When my dad passed away, it took me maybe a year and a half before I could even like talk about him without crying. Right. And for some people, I might say that was too long. And other people might say, well, that's not long at all. Right. Like it's so subjective. It's just difficult. Right. And so I think that's something that makes this tricky. And that's kind of the point, right? That it isn't as like, oh, well, clearly she has depression. Well, how much leeway do we give her before we diagnose it as a disorder? And there's not a hard rule to that. Yeah.
I just think that the issue that her behaviors.
Yeah.
are harmful for herself.
Oh,
She's
for sure.
overindulging, she's
Mhm.
eating enough, she's oversensitive, like
Yeah.
that's where it's like more disorderly because it's
Yeah.
harmful to herself.
Yeah.
I feel like, especially when you're going through such a difficult time, you should be focusing on taking care of yourself and getting more sleep,
Sure.
having a better diet, and just trying to not let yourself have more of a reason. to
Sure.
be upset,
Yeah, all good points, right? And those are the healthy things to do, right? For sure. And it's tricky. And I think Eric kind of builds on this to another level, right? Let's see what you said about Eric, because there's a lot of similarities between Diane and Eric in that way. So let's vote last one here on Eric. Has a disorder, doesn't have a disorder. So much suspense. I'm like, what did you vote? I'm done now. I can't wait 3 seconds. All right. Interesting. Okay, so we flopped. So what was it that sent you? Because their situations are relatively similar in the sense of what would you expect someone to respond with, but we switched a little bit. So what was the difference with Diane and Eric? What tipped you over? Yeah.
Say like the time span.
Okay.
After we lost the slides, maybe like.
Okay. The duration.
Yeah, because we had to like really think about what.
Mm-hmm.
and obviously, it's like,
Okay. Okay. And I think that duration is worth noting. Yeah.
Because he's like still going on. Like he's still working, he's still breathing things.
Okay.
And like, it's not like he made this like split decision, like he even talked to his doctor about
Mhm.
suicide and stuff like that. So he's not in like, he's in the same like mindset.
Like a logical frame of.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's like also pretty reasonable, like that's like a pretty messed up thing to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Like, how would you expect somebody to react? Right. Yeah.
Eric's story kind of reminds me of like veterans.
Mhm.
Back from
Yeah.
stack complex. Some of them might be named are for life, right?
Yeah.
There's no rest. And it kind of like, I feel like Eric is kind of like a clear manifestation, like depression and regret and pain
Sure.
manifesting, bucking together, and hitting in like a bravery.
Yeah.
Right at like kind of the tail end of a long period, just kind of like in sloping downward in comfort and just general emotion.
Mhm.
So I think it was like something that didn't kind of seem clear at first, but now it's kind of like, wow, I feel like crap.
Yeah.
You know, I can't walk. I can't function as I once did.
That's an awful situation, right? I mean, his whole life upended, just like Diane, but in a completely different way. Did you have a thought, Lori?
Yeah, what concerns me about Eric is his prolonged morphine use.
Yeah.
Because obviously that's a very irritating thing to go through, and like, I'm obviously I have no idea what that pain scale is like, but sure, I know for morphine, like that's only supposed to be achieved for like a short period of time after the initial surgery, and then after that, you're supposed to find other ways to deal with it, maybe
Yeah.
physical therapy or other pain management. But that, in addition to his suicidal
Right.
ideations.
Yeah, those two things tip me a little bit more this direction. Like with Diane, I lean toward like she's trying to cope, and I'm worried that she's on the path, right? Some of the things that you mentioned, like she's doing, she's definitely on the path to like some serious depression. I'm not comfortable putting her there yet, but if it lasted a little bit longer, I would. But with Eric, like Eric, yeah, check his name, these fictional people, right? Eric, I worry about the morphine use. I worry about the duration. I worry about the suicidality. Those are things that concern me a little bit more, right? And so the point with all of these people, and again, none of them I think are like blatantly obvious, except for maybe Andrew in the beginning, is that it isn't always obvious. We tend to think in our mind that people like have a disorder or they don't. And I'll know it when I see it and it's obvious and it's there. And that is really often not the case, right? Some people struggle deeply with mental illness and you would never know it, right? Because they hide it or they manage it. Other people, like they wear it on their sleeve and it's all you see, right? And so it's just such a huge range. And there's a whole statement from the APA and the DSM about how we decide what is a disorder or not. But I think with every single one, you look at these Ds, is it affecting their life? Is it causing a lot of issues? Is it putting them or others in danger? How long is it lasting? And what would you expect? What is a normal, typical reaction? And has this gone beyond it? And again, it's very subjective, but they're kind of questions that we want to ask. So not to purposefully be ambiguous, but that's kind of the point, right? When it comes to these folks. So I want to make sure I have enough time to take attendance really quickly. So we'll stop there. And next class, when I see you, we'll keep going. Obviously, we didn't get very far, but this was kind of one of the really concepts in this chapter to make sure that we discuss. So let me see who is here. And again, I'll only take attendance today and then next week, and then I won't do that anymore. And when I'm done here, don't forget to turn in your index cards before you leave. You can put them up here on the desk. I also have a stapler if you need it for like a last minute attachment of your picture. And then one other thought, but if you want any of the cookie rounds, don't forget to get some candy for me as well. Well, let me go through this, and if I don't call your name, come check in with me. If I mispronounce your name again, keep correcting me. I will get it. I'm sorry. Let me get these. Jill, Sam. Are you here, Sam? Okay, there. Sorry. Monica, Caitlin, Alyssa, Madison, here, Campbell, Casey, are you here? Dunia, here, Andre, Bradley, Celine, Nicole, here, Francis, Elena, Jennifer, Ryan, Matthew, Brendan, Michael, Catherine, and Adam. Okay, if I didn't check in with, or didn't call your name, come check in with me. Don't forget your card. Don't forget the candy if you want a Kahoot. Have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you all on Tuesday.